Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here with breaking news. That's right. I feel like Ted Koppel. Let's go live to the Word Balloon News Center, where a Marvel press teleconference has just wrapped up, featuring information about the new Guardians of the Galaxy series coming in May. That's right, all new Guardians of the Galaxy. Bendis' run is ending this month, and then in May, both Free Comic Book Day and a first issue of the new Guardians series is starting up. We've got the creative team, Gerry Duggan, the writer, Aaron Kuder, the artist, Jordan D. White, the editor, are all on this call. Lots of great information. The book is going to be twice monthly, which is pretty wild. And they're going to talk about how Aaron is going to be able to maintain that schedule for the first couple arcs. And we'll get into that information. Lots of good story nuggets as well. And I posed an obvious question once I realized and did the math of who's involved in this book and some other Marvel books out there. And I had to ask the question. It's my second question. You'll have to wait till near the end of the conversation for that to happen. But all really good information about the new series, and I know it's in good hands, man. Gerry Duggan, one of the funniest guys I've had the pleasure to meet in comics. His wonderful comedy writing background, his tremendous runs on Marvel books for the last 5 years. The proof is there in the writing. And always a delight when Gerry takes over a book and puts his own spin on it. So I have really good feelings about this Guardian series coming from Marvel in just weeks. So really excited to be sharing with this with this. Boy, I'm just having trouble talking because I literally we just wrapped up the press conference just a couple minutes ago, and I'm spinning this around to put this out as quickly as possible. Word Balloon is brought to you by InStock Trades at InStockTrades.com. There are great deals happening right now at InStock Trades on things like, look at this. The first arc of Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. Who is Oracle? From Julie and Shauna Benson and Claire Rowe. Wonderful team, wonderful book, and you can get the first volume for 50% off. It's just $8.49. You can get the Captain America Epic Collection, Justice is Served. Man, there's some really good stuff in here, including Mike Zeck and some incredible writers. This collects Captain America 318 to 332 and the annual number 8, Amazing Spider-Man 278, and material from the Great Marvel Fanfare, number 29 and 31 and 32. Lots of really interesting stories from Mark Gruenwald, J.M. DeMatteis, Paul Neary, Mike Zeck, Kerry Gamble, just among the artists that are involved in this book. It is, how much? 50% off, $19.99. Marvel Cosmics, certainly part of the discussion today. You can get the Road to War of Kings. This is a great collection featuring Sons of M, 1 through 6, X-Men Deadly Genesis 1 through 6, Silent War 1 through 6, Secret Invasions in Humans 1 through 4, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 through 12. Man, this is a big collection. Holy cow. Nova 13 through 22. Nova, the origin of Richard Rider and the War of Kings saga. Man, I'll tell you, this is 1,192 pages. It's a big book, and it's 50% off. It's just $62.50. How about Chew? Chew Omnivore, hardcover, volume 6. This is the final story arc from John Layman and Rob Gilroy. Man, I got to talk to John. We finally really had a chance to get to know each other better at the last Cincy Comic-Con, and hope to have him on. I've had Rob on the show, but long overdue to have John Layman on Word Balloon. We should make that happen. In the meantime, enjoy Volume 6 of the Chew hardcovers, 45% off, $21.99. Just a few of the great books that are available at InStockTrades.com. Go to their website and check out more deals waiting for you. Word Balloon is also brought to you by The Comics Canon. The Comics Canon is the podcast that reads, reviews, and renders judgment on the greatest comic book stories of yesterday and today. Every 2 weeks, experienced journalists and critics Kevin Moreau and Kurt Holman hold in-depth yet accessible discussions on such well-known comics as Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Civil War, Preacher, The Walking Dead, Fun Home, and more works that have become mass media icons. They also discuss popular comics like Saga, landmark events like the Dark Phoenix Saga and the death of Gwen Stacy. Each episode answers the question, how do these stories hold up? What's their larger impact on comics or pop culture? And do they belong in that Hall of Fame of comic stories known as the Comics Canon? Just in time for the Judas Contract. The current episode reviews the original Judas Contract storyline by Wolfman and Perez. Upcoming episodes include a look at the origin story of the original 30th century Guardians of the Galaxy and the modern-day version of the team as well, along with reviews of Doom Patrol, Calling from the Wreckage by Grant Morrison and Richard Case. The Comics Canon is available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and, of course, their website, comiccanon.com. All right, without further ado, let's go to Chris Delandro, who is running the proceedings at Marvel for this tele-press conference about the new Guardians of the Galaxy run featuring writer Gerry Duggan, artist Aaron Kuder, and editor Jordan D. White. Here it is now for you on Word Balloon.
Come May 3rd, we're going to have a brand new series, All New Guardians of the Galaxy, and we've got our creators here to talk about sort of taking the Guardians back into space and paring down the roster a little bit, and it'll look a little familiar if you've maybe, been out in the world maybe for 5 minutes and seen that there's, a movie coming up. But despite the fact that that there is a movie coming up, we have a really great new adventure that these characters are embarking on. And it's, like I mentioned, it's going to be out May 3rd. There will be a second 10-page original story on Free Comic Book Day on May 6th. And we have our writer, Gerry Duggan, here, our artist, Aaron Kuder, and our editor, Jordan D. White, and also our assistant editor, Darren Shan, here because, associate editor Darren Shan, because they didn't give us a conference room. So that's
in our office.
First question for you guys. I mentioned that Guardians is everywhere. It's very ubiquitous, but it is also one of the more young Marvel franchises, at least relatively speaking, when you get into your Avengers, your X-Men. How are you guys handling that as the series opens? Is it new reader friendly? How are you handling the fact that people really do know these characters but may not have read a comic with them?
Well, I'll start, and then Aaron can back me up if I miss anything. I think, that's the great gift of inheriting Guardians at this moment in time. You have what James Gunn and his collaborators have done in the MCU, and then what Bendis and his collaborators have done in publishing, where in a pretty short order, everyone knows exactly who these characters are, and now we get to have some fun, maybe putting them into some new and different situations and exploring some some new scenarios for these characters and some new ways that I think that we can see them in some surprising light. So we'll see. Aaron, did I miss anything?
No. I think that's basically the sum of it. Is that it's a really awesome time to be on this book. Not just because there's a movie, not just because these characters are new and fresh and add something more than what you can get from a lot of other books, but because it brings the humor, it brings a levity. At least that's something that we're going for. And I think it's really, really, really important right now.
Totally.
Yeah, this is Jordan adding in that I agree. I mean, one of the things that I think people found so refreshing about that movie was just how much fun it was. I mean, there are definitely always these giant galactic stakes where, the entire universe is going to be destroyed or planets are going to be destroyed. And it's a big adventure stuff. That being said, there's so much fun to be had in these characters and in their attitudes. And I think both Gerry and Aaron are incredibly well suited to that. They've been taken to these characters immediately, very strongly. And I think both of them are having a ton of fun writing and drawing it. And I think that fun will shine right across to the reader, who will have a ton of fun reading it.
That has been something that we've tried to really, that we've tried to do at every stage, is just to if you're having fun, then the next person in the collaboration will have fun. And these are fun characters. It's a raccoon with a giant space weapon
with an attitude.
Yeah, and I think for me too, the joy has been some of my enjoyment of the Marvel Universe over the years has been sort of in some of the deep dive stuff. And so it's fun to be able to sort of take this new classic cast and sort of grind them up against some of the older characters and scenarios and see what comes of it. Has been a lot of fun.
I'm jumping around a little bit on my sheet, but you
Sure.
guys are talking about the fun of making the book. But I want to talk to Jordan specifically because Jordan, and besides editing Gerry on Deadpool, Jordan is also our line editor for our Star Wars comics. So it's sort of natural that he's taken over Guardians of the Galaxy as a franchise, and this is sort of his big launch. Although you did edit the end of Brian's run.
Yeah, I helped Brian see through the end of his, but this is the first one that I've been on to help map out the direction as well. Yeah.
Has crafting and editing the Star Wars line aided in sort of moving over to the Marvel Cosmic line for you? Are you taking sort of any of those sensibilities with you?
Well, sure. I mean, Star Wars, that's one of the things I think is so great about Star Wars, too, is that Star Wars also has its light moments as well. Now, granted, Star Wars doesn't have quite as much humor in it as Guardians does, but the humor that is there in Star Wars is vital. If you do just like 100%, I mean, we did a Darth Vader book, which you'd think would be 100% grim, except that's not true. The funny parts were like a bright little beacon in that series. Whereas in Guardians, the shift, the mix is a little bit more to the humor side. But again, I don't want to make it sound like we're doing a humor book. We always think of it as an action book that has some really funny characters in it, like my references are all going to be really old if I make them. I'm going to let me say like the Fast and the Furious movies. Those have some really fun characters in them, but they're still serious movies. I'm trying not to say Lethal Weapon because I was going to say Lethal Weapon, and I was like, that's too old.
Yeah, this might be too old, but actually, I mean, that's it. All has the same common DNA. The Shane Black. The very serious sort of when the comedy is really butted up against that tragedy. That's I think also that's something we've tried to put into our Deadpool. The sort of the wild swings. We're not. The tone of this book is not Deadpool. The tone of this book is very much, a gang of adventurers who are sometimes out for themselves, and if they can save the galaxy, great. But they're going to be working at some cross purposes coming up in pretty short order, and that'll be fun too. They're very different characters. What do they have in common besides being friends and saving the galaxy? Well, you'll see at some points that they may have very different goals.
So let's talk a little about that. Let's talk about the opening arc. When the series picks up, they're back in space. They have a new ship, but it's not really too long before they sort of find themselves in hot water and get in trouble because that's what they do. Talk to me a little bit about the first arc and how that's going to play out.
Yeah, sure. We have when we meet the Guardians in issue 1, they are sort of mid-adventure on what seems to be on the surface one very sort of simple heist of something that they were promised that would be a boon to the galaxy if it were off the table. And things begin to slowly unravel, and it seems like some of the Guardians may not have been so forthcoming with information and may have ulterior motives about what exactly the adventure is. And as that's happening, we're caught between two very big cosmic entities in the Collector and Grandmaster. And those are fun characters to write because they have very heightened awareness and secret knowledge, and then also seemingly super powerful for obvious reasons. They're cosmic elders, and what do they have, and how do they interact with the Guardians? I hesitate to call it since it's Old Timers Day in the reference department, I hesitate to say it's trading places, but there is that notion of here are some people that are very out of their league at the moment, and how do they get out of it? Sometimes we do things to these characters that we love so much, and you sort of have to shrug and go, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to get out of this one. But that's really been a lot of the fun of this team, is that one of those characters will whisper the answer to you, and you'll go, of course, that's what's going to happen now. I didn't see that coming. And so there have been a lot of fun surprises along the way. And, I know we're talking about how fun this is going to be, and I think we can promise you it's going to be that. There are also going to be some very big, dangerous cosmic threats that, we're going to see how dangerous the Marvel Universe can be and is right now, and especially how dangerous it is with the Nova Corps missing out in space. The sheriffs have departed the range, so to speak, and a lot of problems have festered out there because of it.
So we'll circle back around to the opening arc and stuff, but I want to talk to Aaron a little bit about the visual look of the series. It's a very distinct look. Like you can, I mean that in the highest compliment. It looks so visually vibrant and dynamic, and more so than probably any of the comic books I can think of us publishing in a good long while. I want to talk to you about how you sort of define the visual tone for Guardians, because there's so much you can do with drawing outer space, and then I also wanted to hear about, obviously, that you added some visual touches to all the characters. So what was that like for you?
Sure. The thing that really hit home with me about coming up with a look for these characters is that they're not the space police. They're not intergalactic entities of that are attached to an organization like the Novas or the Shi'ar. They don't have their own set design, and they have in the past. But the thing that I love about them is that they're also beautifully flawed in their own rights, and they all have such great core personalities, which is what ultimately leads to such great stories and such great adventures with these guys, because none of them have the same point of view. And so I wanted to give each of them their own look that represented who they are for this book. Like with we're not getting into too much detail as to where these characters are going, but with Gamora, I wanted to give her a bit of a darker look. Drax has, for some reason, given up violence, so I gave him sort of a kind of a monk-ish style. And Rocket, like I always feel like Rocket's the grease monkey or grease raccoon. He's always got like gadgets and stuff on him. I really wanted to give him a look that kind of paid homage to the Bill Mantlo and Keith Griffin, Mike Mignola sort of designs from the 80s. So I gave him like an 80s style vest. And like speaking of the overall design of things, is like you'll see them in space, and you'll see them in places that are these utopic spaces that give you this feeling of like, oh, this is future world or whatever. But then when you get back to the Milano, it's like this is like a dorm room. These people live here. They leave their crap lying around. And that's an important key visually to really capture the personality of these guys.
I know. Aaron, you tried to do Drax with no underwear, but we stopped you.
He's transcended the need for undergarments, guys. Let's leave our earthly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another character that I wanted to do that I wanted to make naked, just so that it just has you have to problem solve around that to not show the naughty bits. I just love that idea for some reason. Yeah.
You mentioned Drax swearing off violence, and that's sort of one of the sticking points early on in the book. And what I think is cool, and it's something very uniquely comic book, is when a lot of time, not a lot of time, but some time has passed between where Brian's run is ending, which is next week, and the start of your gentleman's run. So the Guardians are kind of in some new status quo. You mentioned Gamora being a bit darker. Drax has sworn off violence. One of the sort of interesting things is that Groot is tiny and he's not growing back, and no one knows why. Can you guys talk a little about where they're at status quo wise when the book opens up, and how that'll sort of unfold?
Yeah, I think at the moment, and this is not maybe the most. At the moment, Quill almost seems like he's the one that has his act together the most,
right.
Which should be troubling to the team. But Gamora is. It's easy to say that I think that she is troubled. She is known as the world's the most deadly woman in the galaxy. She's going to earn that in this, and something terrible happened to Drax that is making him question a lot of things. He knows why he is taking a pause at the moment, and he truthfully might be on a sabbatical or off on his own were it not for something else that is happening that he's aware of. So he's sort of sticking around out of friendship, but he's having a crisis. Gamora seems like she's maybe hiding some things. Groot is of all of the profoundly messed up things that we're doing, and I think at least I can only speak for myself on Deadpool, you end up really, as a writer, as a custodian of these characters, wanting to find ways to hurt them. And I think the Groot story is probably the most profoundly messed up thing that we're doing. And you won't have long to wait to see. You'll get a hint of what is to come in right in the first issue, and then we're going to let that simmer for a while, and readers will end up knowing more about the threat than the Guardians will. So by the time that they're hit with it, I hope readers will be filled with a sense of dread as to what we've been up to. Did I miss anyone? Did I hit the?
That's all. Rocket. I didn't really talk about Rocket. Rocket is experiencing some guilt, although we'll see why. The thing we should mention too is that so the book is coming out twice a month, and the first month both issues are drawn by Aaron to get us into this big first arc, and then in the months that follow, what we're going to do is starting with issue 3, we're going to have guest artists come in and tell some of the stories behind some of these changes. So with issue 3, you will find out what is the secret that Gamora is keeping. And Fraser Irving is doing that, doing the art for that story that Gerry wrote. Then Aaron's back with number 4, which continues the same story arc right from where 2 left off. And then 5 will have Star-Lord with Chris Samney on it. 7 will be our Drax issue, and then 9 will be the Rocket and Groot issue. And each of them will reveal, again, what it is that they've been through in the interim since Brian's book ended and ours begins.
And they do feed into each other. Like once readers are caught up on what has happened, it will then reverberate in Aaron's main story. Not unlike the way that we did some of the inventory issues in the Deadpool universe, where we introduced an idea and then immediately made hay of it.
Yep. So I'm going to...
One of the fun things...
Go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
One of the fun things about that for me, as the artist, the writers and editors get to work with so many other creative people. and it's just so awesome to have every month have a guest artist and be able to see what they do, see how they problem solve visually, and challenge me to keep my game up. It's really going to be fun
me too. Yeah, the way that Aaron's work feeds into my work, and then I end up oftentimes it's not a complete rewrite, but when Aaron's pages come back, I stop down and I go, oh man, how can I make this better? How can I match what Aaron's, the love that he's put into these pages? So
you should.
Yeah. I mean, we've been at this a long time now. I think I looked at the calendar this morning, and it's not quite a year, but in order to do 24, that's almost how long I've been wrenching on it. Maybe not quite that long. Certainly, almost the better part.
I think I got connected with it back in November or something like that, but couldn't start.
It was earlier than November because we had a meeting at New York Comic Con. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to let some of these cats out of the bag, because I'm constantly afraid of just blurting I'm writing Gurdians, and you'll never guess who turns up in issue 8. Oops,
Yeah.
Well, finally,
it is a little cathartic.
Yeah.
That does bring me to my next point, though, because Gerry, we were talking earlier about your Deadpool plans, and you and Jordan have a tendency to plan so very far out. And I know you guys are really far planned out on Gurdians. Much like you've done with Deadpool, you're sort of seeding a lot of things in the background and long-term plots. I know that these things are things that are not going to pay off for a long while, but I know that we wanted you tease out a little bit. Is there anything you can say about that?
Sure. I'll try and bear with me as I stumble through this, because I don't want to spoil too much. But I think what I can say is, I think we have in Success, obviously, a very large roadmap for a big cosmic adventure that will very quickly, I guess I'll talk about a little bit about the second arc. I mentioned that the sheriffs have been missing in space. We are reintroducing a Nova Corps. I think we're going to be able to do that in a very fun way. The Gurdians will not be Novas per se, but they are going to help them get on their feet and help them right their ship. There are some old stories that I think that the DNA years we're building to about that would bump the Nova Corps and sort of quote our corner of the galaxy up against the Shi'ar. We're very quickly going to see some of those villains pop up very quickly in our early issues. You had mentioned about a roadmap. The thing that we're doing here is you're going to be introduced to more problems and emergencies than we're going to necessarily knock down right away. We're going to let the fires burn almost out of control and then tackle them in order that they're the most dangerous. So we have, a second arc that will have some DNA even to some of the things that we've done recently in Uncanny Avengers. That we saw what happened when post Rage of Ultron. So we'll see that some familiar faces have been up to no good doing some things out there. And look, the other thing is, as we talk about, the Raptors and, sort of an alternative police force out there to the Nova Corps, what makes one sheriff more valid than the other? These will be two law enforcement agencies with very different purposes and very different goals. And, that's the sort of friction that we think we can make some really fun comic books out of. What else could I threaten you with long term that doesn't blow a story arc? Some of the, I'll take my cue from you, Chris. Do you think you want me to talk a little bit more about future plans, or do you want me to?
I think in very, very subtle, very roundabout terms, we can sort of hint, but I know that we don't want to go too deep because this is stuff that, you guys are planning at least a year out.
Okay, so I mean, we can rip the Band-Aid off and talk about the Stones, or you want to wait?
Yeah, I think we can rip the Band-Aid. I think we can rip the Band-Aid a little. We can peel the Band-Aid back a little bit. How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the wounds.
Yeah, and some of this will be weaving its way through the very early stories, but there are cosmic entities that are aware that something happened not long ago that reordered the universe. They don't remember the events of Secret Wars. They don't necessarily know that it even happened, but they know that the universe now is not quite, or has not been reconstituted exactly as it once was. And this bothers some people. It's like an itch that they can't quite scratch. And there are multiple characters who are searching the cosmos for the Infinity Stones. Now, this is probably a perfect time for me to mention, I do not have plans. Aaron and I are not telling a Thanos story. We don't have plans for that character at the moment. This is a new story with new antagonists. The Stones, we don't know where they are. Well, that's not true. I do know exactly where they are. You don't know where they are. The Guardians don't know where they are.
I don't know where they are.
Yeah, no, you know where some of them are, but don't blurt anything out right now. They'll be revealed
Printed, I don't know.
in some very unexpected and exciting and dangerous places, and they will become the cornerstones. I think of, it's certainly the biggest thing that I've tackled for Marvel, and I think by in pretty short order, you'll see what the stakes are and how it will personally affect the Guardians and how it will endanger the entire Marvel universe.
Well, that peeled the Band-Aid off perfectly. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Hey, hope you're enjoying the conversation so far in this Marvel Tele-Press conference. We will get to the press questions in just a second, but I wanted to remind you about one of our sponsors, the Comics Canon. Because the Comics Canon has an episode coming up that will take a look at the origin stories of the original 30th century Guardians of the Galaxy and, of course, the modern version of the team. Comics Canon is the podcast that reads reviews and renders judgment on the greatest comic stories of yesterday and today. Every 2 weeks, Kevin Moreau and Kurt Holman hold in-depth yet accessible discussions on well-known comic books like The Walking Dead, Preacher, Fun Home, a lot more that have become mass media icons. They also discuss popular comics like Saga, landmark events like the Dark Phoenix Saga, and Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, and the death of Gwen Stacy. Each episode answers the question, how do these stories hold up? What's their largest impact on comics or pop culture? Do they belong in that Hall of Fame comic group known as the Comics Canon? Don't forget, they also have upcoming episodes, including reviews of Doom Patrol, Crawling from the Wreckage. The current March 29th episode reviews the original Judas Contract storyline by Wolfman and Perez. Also coming up again, a look at both the original 30th century Guardians of the Galaxy and the modern-day version of the team. You can find the Comics Canon available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and comicscanon.com. And now back to the teleconference, already in progress.
With that said, I'm going to open it up to some press questions, and I think we got time.
No questions. I'm out.
Wait, we have questions?
Yeah. CBR.
Yes. So just wondering, are there any plans to bring in characters that are in the second movie, like Aisha?
We have plans to bring in characters. I'm loath to sort of threaten you with specifics, but I will promise you in pretty short order the look of the Guardians, meaning the composition of the Guardians, it will be in flux. It will change before too long. And, whether it's someone from the cinematic, or someone or multiple people from either the cinematic universe or the very rich, deep back catalog of Marvel comics that, we all grew up reading, you'll have to stick around and see.
Cool. Newsarama.
So, Gerry, you previously wrote Nova for a long time with Sam Alexander, and now you're bringing back the Nova Corps. Are we going to see you maybe bringing Sam into this Guardians roster, or do you have plans to make a permanent Nova a part of the team?
We're doing something. There's Nova DNA of all crazy things in Deadpool 30. In I think a fun way. Deadpool is going to space, and we will see how some of the newly reconstituted Nova Corps is coming together, and who are the participants. I adored Sam. My time with Sam, I learned so much wrenching on that book, and sort of the value of the classic Peter Parker Spider-Man, down on his luck kid. I would love to be able to write Sam again. I'm actually, I have more concrete plans for some of the other Novas. I've written a little bit of Rich now since we started this. I'm not necessarily going to tell you where, but that's going to happen. And anytime I can borrow Sam off of Earth, I would love to do it. But, I'm also just, I got to throttle back my imagination for the page count,
Hi, Jan.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
This is one of several Marvel books that's switching to a twice-monthly schedule this year. And besides the obvious benefit that readers get more stories more often, what advantages do you see to this twice-monthly schedule?
Well, I mean, I can speak for me. For me, it means being able to make more immediate use of some of the stories that I've been, filling my notebook with for a year. We can't go weekly, but I have that much, I think, in the gas tank at the moment. It's like a dangerous situation where we're.
No weekly.
Yeah.
No weekly.
No weekly. No, but in all seriousness, I'm just as excited about some of the stories that are really going to not be able to come up until year 2 or year 3. In all sincerity, that's how it goes. I love the stories that we're telling now, but some of them too are establishing larger conflicts that I hope I get to. I've been very, very lucky to have long runs at Marvel. In a few years, I've managed to not exactly tear my way through the Marvel universe, and I've been very grateful for that. And now I get to collaborate with Aaron and our other guest artists on some really wild, big ideas. Because sincerely, I'm very glad to leave Earth. Yeah. Go ahead, Aaron.
I think for me, it's like I said before, it's being able to see immediately other creators getting to play in the same sandbox. Because frankly, it gets to be a lonely sandbox sometimes.
True.
Didn't mean to sound too morose on that, but the fact that the twice monthly shipping it offers so much in the way of being able to dive into the characters and really and get nuances that you just wouldn't have time to do with a monthly schedule.
I will say, and this is Jordan again, I will say that I agree with Gerry and Aaron both. Like, those are both great parts of it. Getting so much story out so quickly and being able to work with so many great people. One of the things I do want to mention, though, is I'm really thankful that we have been able to work on this for so long in advance, because I do think it's very important on a book with this kind of shipping schedules to be able to work out a real plan for the art, so that the art can be great and consistent and that we can have a plan for it. So I mentioned that we're going to alternate to give Aaron, so that Aaron can do one issue and he'll have a guest artist doing the backstories. But after the first arc, we do plan to then do arcs where one artist just draws 5 issues in a row. So like the next arc you see Aaron do after this, the plan is for him to just do the issue straight through. And that's only possible because we are able to plan so far ahead. And that's,
it's
hard work,
funny.
but it's worth it.
Yeah. And I, I tend not to think like this, but I do realize, I think I am writing some 2018 script. I mean, seriously,
I don't know. That's pretty far off. Maybe though.
Well, it's not. It's really close. It is close. It might be December. I have a hard enough time doing what I do, and like literally knowing what day it is. I feel like anytime somebody talks to me, it's like somebody rubbed a dumb genie lamp and I appeared, and I'm just. I'm very grateful not to be in front of a computer screen right now looking at words. Is Trump still president? What's happening? What year is it?
David, AIPT.
Hey guys, are there any planned romantic? Hi, are there any planned romantic relationships we can look forward to?
Well, I plan to stay married.
Yeah, as much romance as we can get. Yes, but the truth is, I sometimes. I mean, I guess looking at Uncanny Avengers, that cat is out of the bag. That was a planned romance that took 20-ish issues to get to, the one that dropped this week. But in all sincerity, yes. The answer is yes, but I would like to not delve much deeper than that, other than to say I hope you're ready to see Drax really try and score.
John, Bertolone.
Hey guys.
No, but the answer is yes. Yeah, sincerely. Yeah. Cool. Sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. Really excited about this getting started. Gerry, I wanted to ask you a question, given that you've only been writing for 5 years. Could you give a process tip to aspiring writers in terms of some things you've learned that you didn't think you would encounter as far as writing comic books? I mean, you're very clearly comfortable doing it as much as you have been and everything, and the results are great. But yeah, anything that surprised you going in that you didn't consider?
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I do want to say in very sincerely, like I have really been lucky in collaborators. I've had really great editors that want me to succeed, and they have paired me with wonderful artists, and I value so much the collaboration. Now is the thing that you asked specifically about, like, what advice I'd have for writers, and I guess for a writer specifically, I would say be prepared to sort of swerve in a direction that you might not have wanted to go, because there's might be something better there. Very boring process, but I'll run you through it very quickly. I write once for Jordan. I do any notes. It goes to Aaron, and then I will rewrite it when the boards are back, because inevitably he will have found a way to be different and better than what I had first envisioned. And so as long as you can be malleable, there's strength in that, and there is a better comic waiting on the other side than what was in my head.
Comics verse.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hi. What sci-fi inspirations have you been pulling from when you've been designing the world's costumes and characters in Guardians and in the cosmic Marvel universe?
Aaron, you go first. I mean, my inspiration is Aaron now.
Man, it's a lot of nostalgia. There's so much to draw upon. I love to go back to the books that originally inspired me, where one of the first series I picked up regularly was the Infinity Gauntlet, and all of those characters, and then going, because we learn about one thing and then we tend to go backwards in our knowledge. You learn to appreciate Art Adams, and then you find out who Michael Golden is, and then you find out who somebody is. And so, lately, I've been picking up the earliest sci-fi stuff, like old Al Williamson, the original Captain Marvel run, stuff like that. Just like the weirder, the better, in my opinion. And if you look at, there's so much like crazy stuff in these first few issues, lots of like trinkets and gadgets and gizmos and things like that. And I can guarantee every time I can think of it, I try to throw in like really obscure Easter eggs. And so far I haven't been caught.
Uh-oh. Oh no.
I'll say about inspiration though too, if you don't mind. The one thing, that we have a very limited space program, right? We went to the moon in the 60s, and unfortunately we haven't really done much since. That is moving people off planets, I should say, because we've done a lot of interesting things, that are based, on our telescopes and everything. But I am definitely trying to read more science and have been for a while. And I've been inspired with Aaron. We've, I think, found a way to sort of let go of what a human might do in outer space. And, for instance, look, the Grandmaster has more resources than almost anyone else, but his mode of traveling through space, doesn't make any sense to us, really. But to him,
and it shouldn't.
It's perfect. And it shouldn't. But at the same time, there are... you will always be confronted in this book by what is clearly not an Earth-based view of the cosmos, and even where the Nova eventually one of the places that will be a stronghold for them, is based on, I think, visual references of the Stockholm subway. An artist went down there and photographed these wonderful images of what are clearly, man-made dwellings under the ground, but they didn't quite finish them. So the floors are polished, but the sides, the walls are sort of, they're unfinished. And to me, that makes a lot of sense for if you're going to hollow out an asteroid, that would be a cool place to hang out. It makes sense. Visually, it makes sense, and it all tracks. So I hope that you'll agree that, when you pick up the book, that we are out to make space weird again.
CBR.
Are there plans to involve Kitty Pryde in the series much?
We're blasting off of Earth, and we're going pretty far away. Kitty's got some business to attend to, and so at the moment, no, I don't, unless she's one of Aaron's aforementioned Easter eggs that I don't know about. She could be phased into a wall. I could say yes. I could just say yes. She's in the wall of Milano. We just didn't know she was there.
Every character in the mask is in the background is Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, but you know what? This raises something though that I do want to say. We are we're heading towards space, and we're leaving Earth behind. But I do hope the goal too for readers is to be able to find it still grounded in the things that these characters care about. So even though we might not be running into Kitty Pryde or Captain America, or hopefully not Captain America right now. Boy, that'd be a bad sign out in space. But these are stories that you will care about, even though it is not the classic iteration of the book that you're looking at now. I think you'll find that we're doing enough horrible things to these characters that you're going to be invested.
Newsarama.
Hey, so I'm a little curious. You're talking earlier about the implications of secret wars and cosmic beings that would have awareness of what would happen, or that something had happened. Is this something that is an opportunity to maybe revisit some of those things and pull back things that were lost, or is this just kind of a thematic thing for this book?
I have to be careful how I answer this, but I don't mind giving you a nugget of, if you look back at what I was doing in during that time, Dustin Weaver and I collaborated on an Infinity Gauntlet book, and there were definitely things in there that I had always hoped would be a part of the Marvel universe. And so now that I have an opportunity to do that, some ideas I think that people haven't thought about in a while are going to not be made new again, but reintroduced. And that also goes for some of the old favorites that, fans have been asking about. Since I got the job, I get all sorts of character names tweeted at me, and it's very difficult to not just blurt out, yes, like next question, because I want to give some of these characters, a star entrance. There are names that I could say now that might rhyme with Garvel that would probably really excite people, but I don't want to necessarily say even which one is going to be showing up and when. But there are plans to have, and no pun intended, there is a rich legacy here of stories that go back decades. I read all of them. I worked in a comic shop. It was my first real job, and I got to plow through the. After I read Simonson Thor and then Miller's Daredevil, the next box over, was the Nova and the Guardians and everything else. So I'm excited to be able to, dust off some of those characters and entities with Aaron and seeing what happens with them. And there's certainly enough going on now that. 24 issues in this first year is a lot of fun real estate. I think we're going to make the most of it.
IGN.
So you guys have talked already about how you've been planning this out a long time. How much have you guys involved the creators in some of the solo Guardians books? And are we going to see much crossover between the series and maybe Star-Lord or Rocket or one of those books?
I'll probably let Jordan talk about that more than, I hate sucking the oxygen out of the room, but I tend to do that.
Well, you answer the question so nicely.
Yeah, unfortunately, Star-Lord will have ended by then. We have, I think, the annual comes out at the same time as our book, but that's it. So that's unfortunate. But our Rocket book is going to be. Well, I don't want to necessarily say it's going to be tying into exactly the same stuff, but it's going to touch on his relationship with the Guardians and how he got involved in the Guardians, at least a little bit. The Rocket book it's really amazing. Al Ewing is doing that one, and it's an amazing space raccoon crime story adventure. It's so good. I cannot wait for you to see that as well.
Yeah.
In addition, we also have this I Am Groot.
He's very funny.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We also have the I Am Groot series coming out, which is taking place right at the same time and is an adventure that Groot goes on basically between Guardians adventures, and it will involve the small Groot going on an adventure completely on his own, which is, difficult for a little guy who can only say one thing.
It's true.
But that's by Christopher Hastings, and what's the artist's name, Darren?
Flaviano.
Yes, Flaviano, yes, which is going to be terrific. It looks gorgeous. It's really a good read. That comes out also in May. Both of those launch in May, right alongside of our book.
David, AIPT.
Hey, with the Guardians movie, we learn about these characters who didn't know each other becoming a family. And I was wondering if that is a theme you might be using in this story arc or a future story arc where they're all about family.
I think we inherited a family, and now I think that's totally valid. We don't
quasi-dysfunctional.
Yeah, in every sense too, right? I mean, that's exactly right. With the good of that and the bad of that, the family secrets, can sometimes threaten to destroy families, and if families survive them, they become stronger. Or alternatively, families can also sort of disintegrate and change and bring in new members or lose members or have estrangements. But it's a great question. It's just a complicated answer of I do 100% believe, based on the cinematic universe and the characters and the title that we inherited and all the sweat equity of those stories. I don't necessarily feel that Aaron and I have to justify it being a family. Like, they've earned it. They get to call themselves a family. And you know what? I don't mind saying this though. The family will rally around vulnerable members, and that is not where they're at the outset. They are very much sort of they've been through a lot. You've been stuck on Earth, which, by the way, would put anyone in a bad mood. Right? You're stuck on Earth, and you might want to have a little bit of elbow room, but they're not going to get it. And by the way, I don't mind that. Like, this doesn't feel like a cat out of the bag. The Nova Corps is initially, like the humans on the Nova Corps are really unpopular. They are unpopular dudes. Like the rest, when the non-Earth based Novas see, the Earth Nova coming, they stop talking. They don't talk to him. They don't invite him to lunch.
John, word balloon.
For the sake of self-censorship, I'll not return them to anybody.
I got to ask Jordan. I had forgotten and obviously wasn't doing the math putting together Guardians and the fact that you're also editing the Star Wars line. Is there a chance that the Guardians might fall through a portal in space and we could possibly see a team up of these two big movie franchises in comic form?
The PR person's going to step in and say no, can neither confirm nor deny nor comment.
I'm sorry.
I might fit it in an Easter egg.
Yeah,
Yay.
But what about Groot Skywalker? He's going to be a very popular Guardian.
If you're made out of wood, you probably don't want to handle a lightsaber.
That's true.
Well, at least he grows back. At least not at the beginning of Jerry's.
Well, yeah, not right now.
Look at Mr. Fun Police. Yeah, everyone's on a roll.
Groot does not live in fear.
That's true. That's true.
All right, I think we got time. I think we got time for one more. Zach, Comics Verse, you want to take us out?
Sure. After you guys started working on the book, was there something that surprised you about one of the characters? Something that you didn't expect?
Well, my answer is probably the easiest to give. I'll let Jerry figure out how to say answers for this one.
You can almost feel the flop sweats off of Ant.
Yeah.
No, I have an answer. But go ahead.
It's like I've really enjoyed the aspect of creating the look and getting the body language and all that stuff. But like, I didn't expect to enjoy drawing peaceful Drax. Or I should say non-violent Drax, because there's a line. But I do. Sure. I really I kind of imagine like he's always kind of constipated, like because he's got something he wants to get out and he can't,
Well, it is. You know what? It casts him a little as a Banner figure, meaning a Bruce Banner figure, but he for the moment it's look, I won't lie to you or pretend that we're not getting a couple of good gags out of it, but it is a real character development of, look, you're called the Destroyer, you're Drax the Destroyer, like what are you when you're not destroying? And so I think he's looking at that, and we'll find out what went horribly wrong the last time he did take a life. And then look, this is he's really trying to walk the line here. Eventually, I suspect, I haven't found it yet, but he would find the right time to say, it's time now. And by the way, when that happens, won't everyone be so glad? And maybe it'll be an unexpected circumstance. And won't that be great? Hopefully. Oh, and to answer your question, though, you asked bunnies. No, yeah, exactly. The petting zoo will never be the same. But for me, the real revelation has been Gamora, and the trouble that I could get into with Gamora has been a delight. I think Rocket will scratch my Deadpool itch. Quill, as this, an adventurer who is trying to do the right thing and wants to backstop the galaxy against all the harm that is going to come its way, but also wants to enjoy life. You're going to be dead someday, so why not enjoy it now? And so for me anyway, the Gamora of it all has been the unexpected find that has been keeping me running to the computer.
Yep, I would agree with that, because I know a lot of the we're talking about all the things that have happened to all the characters, and I think a lot of them came to Gerry pretty quickly, and he was pitching them pretty quickly. But I think Gamora one was the last one to come into place, and when he came up with the idea for what is going on with her, it was pretty surprising. It was like, oh wow. So yeah, I agree with that.
That seems like as good a place as any to end. But if this book is as fun as this call was, I think we're in good shape. So don't screw it up, guys. But,
no pressure.
The first issue of All New Guardians of the Galaxy is out on May the 3rd, and you can also find a free 10-page story from Gerry and Aaron on Free Comic Book Day, which is May 6th. Now that's a completely original story. Yep. It's not 10 pages of the first issue. So is the first issue 20 pages?
Yep.
So in the first week of May, you got 30 pages of great All New Guardians story. It's going to be setting up a lot of really interesting things for them over the next sounds like a long time.
Yep.
But Gerry, Aaron, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's two very big stories that start in both of those issues, even if you're potentially, well, I think you would be. There are two very big stories that begin that are two very different stories that will collide in a fun way. So if you're picking up that Guardians one, don't miss the Free Comic Book Day issue, because there's a whole other separate thing going on there at the end that is going to have consequences.
Well, that is a perfect little tease to end on. Gerry, Aaron, thank you guys so much for taking an hour of your day to chat with us. This book is going to be a lot of fun. Press on the call got a nice little package of covers and some of Aaron's pages, and a lot of interesting nuggets of news dropped from you guys. So thank you very much. And we'll do this again when we hit some other milestones in the book. Thank you guys very much. We'll talk soon.
Lots of fun with Gerry Duggan, Aaron Kuder, Jordan D. White, and Chris Delandro, all the guys in Marvel, helping out with that Guardians of the Galaxy press conference. Really happy to bring that to you as quickly as I could today on Word Balloon. And thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to our next episode coming in just a couple days. Word Balloon is brought to you today by InStock Trades at InStockTrades.com. There are tremendous deals happening on some amazing books at InStock Trades, like the Star Wars Special Edition New Hope hardcover, Bruce Jones, Eduardo Barreto, a Dave Dorman cover that is just gorgeous. This special edition is just great. It's 42% off, only $14.49. What a great comic team to bring you A New Hope. There's the Star Wars box set slipcase. Now, what does that feature? This is a big, damn man. Now this has a lot. Now there are several volumes. I can't even count them. There's The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, The New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, Shattered Empire, Star Wars Volume 1, Star Wars Darth Vader Volume 1, Heroes for A New Hope, and the Marvel Comics. So, man, a ton of great hardcovers in a beautiful slipcase. This is normally $350. You will get 42% off, just $200, $203 from InStockTrades.com. We stand on guard, the trade paperback from Steve Scroach and Brian K. Vaughan. This is an incredible story, 100 years in our future, but man, I'll tell you, in today's political climate, I think We Stand on Guard is a very timely story about a heroic band of Canadian civilians turned freedom fighters who have to defend their homeland from an invasion by a technologically superior opponent, the United States. Could it happen? Interesting times. 45% off. It's just $8.24. You can get Superman Volume 2, Trials of the Super Sons. This is from Pete Tomasi, Pat Gleason. They're the art and writing team, and of course, Pat also co-plotting with Pete. Man, I'm telling you, Superman has never been better. We've had conversations about this with Dan Jurgens, and honestly, Pat Zurcher is another guy that's really doing amazing stuff. Doug Monkey, what a wonderful time to be a Superman fan. I really think the books haven't been this good in almost 10 years when you think about it. 45% off, $9.34 for Volume 2 of Superman, part of the DC Rebirth initiative. There's The Mighty Avengers by Bendis, the trade paperback complete collection. This is 512 pages, and it's Brian along with a ton of great artists. Check it out, 42% off, $23.19. All these deals are from InStockTrades.com. Check them out for yourself, InStockTrades.com. Word Balloon thanks the League of Word Balloon listeners that supports this show through their contributions monthly via Patreon. Thanks a lot, everybody. More new subscribers. I can't thank you enough, especially at this time when I am between radio jobs and trying to make ends meet. If you enjoy Word Balloon, I try to give you as much content as I can each month. And I know I give you more listening time than you would spend reading time on a single comic book. Is what you hear on Word Balloon worth the price of a comic book? I hope so. If you've got the ability to do it, please consider subscribing to Word Balloon via Patreon. If you go to wordballoon.com on the front page, you can click on the Patreon ad. That will take you to my Patreon page. I'm actually working on a deal to get some premiums for people who want to spend a little bit more money. Some great sketches and things. I don't want to give any more details until all of that is hammered out. But truly, thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners, for your support. You are helping keep the lights on in a lot of ways, and I can't thank you enough. So really, and everyone has been incredibly kind and said, no, thank you. They appreciate the content that I provide every month. I'm happy to do it. This is a lot of fun. It's been going on for 12 years. I have no intention of stopping. So thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners. Some other show notes, C2E2 is coming up in just a couple of weeks, and I will be there. I hope to have the chance to thank you in person for the ability for listening to Word Balloon, for sharing the information about Word Balloon to your friends, keeping the Word Balloon audience growing every month with new people listening. And really, the biggest way you can help me with Word Balloon is to let your friends know that you like the show and they might like the show too. Until next time, if you have any questions or comments about the show, reach me via email, john@wordballoon.com. Follow me on Twitter. I never say it enough, @JohnWordBalloon. I'm really close to 7,000 followers. I'd like to hit that number sooner than later because I've been kind of like vacillating, just people dropping off and coming on, and I've been kind of stuck right just under 6,700. So would love to get some new Word Balloon followers on Twitter. On Facebook under my name, John Suntress, and the Word Balloon Network as well. We've got the Oh Yeah podcast and a couple other podcast projects that are brewing, and I hope to get those started sooner than later. But really, I want to continue to hopefully entertain you with this great content each week here on Word Balloon. Thanks a lot for listening. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2017.